Well, you talked about how fear is a major emotion in mafia life, but at one point the government became more feared than the other mob guys.
Well, that's what happened. You know, in the mid-'80s, when they started to use the racketeering laws, when they started to use the Bail Reform Act, you got no bail if you were a danger to community or you were a flight risk, you know, and anybody can be a danger to the community. If you're in the mob, you're automatically a danger to the community. So they used that to hold you without bail. Very difficult to fight a case from inside, you know, rather than when you're outside, and you can do it, you know, along with your representation. So they used all of these tools to make the government more feared than the mob. Now, what do I mean by that? Racketeering laws, you get convicted of one count of racketeering, you can go away for 20 years. You don't get parole anymore, meaning you have to do 17 and a half on the 20. Way back when, Vlad, you know, anybody can do, you get 10 years, you get 15 years, okay. You get parole, you do 7 and a half, you do 9, you 10. Anybody can do that. Today, what they did with those racketeering laws, they say, you get convicted, you're going away for the rest of your life. That's it. Unless you want to talk to us. You want to talk to us, we'll put you in a program, we'll give you a cushiony deal, and you'll get out, we'll change your name, give you some money, and we'll preserve your life. A lot of guys did not stand up over that. And there was a talk at the time that it was all the young guys that weren't standing up. That's not true. There was a lot of old timers that went, you know, Joey Messina, the boss of the family, okay? He got, I think, 300 years. He made a deal after he was convicted, when he was inside, because you don't want to do that kind of time. It's a whole different mindset. So, you know, that's what really, when you give any one reason for the mob's demise, that's the reason. The racketeering law, and guys on the street became more afraid of the government and doing that kind of time than they did the guys on the street. They just transferred the fear to the government.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Now, in our last interview, you talked about how you knew Sammy the Bull.
Yes.
And this guy, he admitted to 15 murders?
He admitted to 19 murders.
19 murders. Okay. How close were you to Sammy?
I wasn't close to him. I knew him, you know, I was closer to John Gotti. And I wasn't, you know, I can't say John and I hung out, we were friends. We had a couple of business dealings. They were actually disputes, and we hung out socially at times. I met John. So, and I like his family a lot until today, okay? He's got a good family. Sammy I knew, you know, we bunked into him in weddings and so on and so forth, and I met him on occasion, met him with John, but we weren't close.
Did you know Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman?
I did not, no. And a lot of that was blown up quite a bit with Kaczynski, believe me.
Okay. How many guys did you know that were like Sammy, that really just liked killing people, that really were serial killers?
Well, look, I knew the DeMeos. I knew Roy DeMeo, and, you know, they had that reputation. They were the guys that did a lot of work. You know, a guy like Greg Scarpa, who, you know, used to claim he enjoyed to do that kind of work. So I knew Greg well. He was with us, you know, with the Colombos. You know, Persico had that reputation too. So, you know, and they presented themselves that way. So, you know, I guess I knew a lot of guys like that. Look, you know, at least outwardly presented themselves as whether they enjoyed it or not. Now, I heard a recent interview with Sammy where he was asked, you committed 19 murders. And Sammy said, well, how do you know how I felt, you know, when I committed those murders? And he said he felt bad about it. He actually stated that, you know, he stood in front of the coffin at a funeral, or a wake, I would say, of one guy that he murdered. And he was actually mentally yelling at the guy, saying, look what you made me do. You violated the rules, and you made me kill you. He actually, if that's not Machiavellian, I don't know what is. But he actually turned it on the guy that he killed and blamed him for having Sammy kill him. And I want to say, did you do that 19 times, Sammy? But anyway, but look, I don't know. I mean, you know, I don't know if Sammy enjoyed it or not. I can't get inside of his head, but 19 murders is a lot of murders.